The United States has built its biggest World Cup stage ever in 2026. Across the country, massive stadium upgrades have taken place to facilitate the World Cup, and the transformations are the country's biggest engineering feats in 2026. Today, we're diving into the biggest 2026 World Cup megaprojects in the United States, showcasing the huge construction endeavors that took place for the event. AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas was not built for the 2026 FIFA World Cup, but it became one of the most important American venues selected to host it. Opened in 2009 as the home of the Dallas Cowboys, the stadium was already one of the largest and most technologically advanced sports buildings in the United States. For the World Cup, however, even a stadium of this scale required major adaptation. The central challenge was the playing surface. FIFA requires a natural grass field for World Cup matches, while AT&T Stadium normally operates with an artificial turf system designed for American football and multi-purpose events. To meet tournament standards, the venue had to be converted for a temporary natural grass installation. This involved planning for a surface that could support elite international football, maintain consistent ball movement, and survive the indoor environment of a domed stadium. Another major change involved the field dimensions. A standard FIFA pitch is wider and longer than an NFL field, and AT&T Stadium's lower seating configuration was not originally designed around that footprint. To create enough space, sections near the field level had to be modified or removed. This reduced the stadium's football seating capacity, but allowed the venue to meet FIFA's requirements for match play, safety zones, team areas, and broadcast operations. The transformation also included upgrades to back-of-house facilities. World Cup hosting requires more than a field and seats. The stadium had to support national teams, referees, FIFA officials, international media, security operations, hospitality spaces, and large-scale transport coordination. Locker rooms, media zones, technical areas, and access routes had to be reviewed and adapted to handle tournament standards rather than regular NFL operations. Timing was a critical part of the work. The stadium remained an active venue in the years leading up to 2026, so construction and conversion planning had to fit around Cowboys games, concerts, college football, and other major events. The World Cup changes were not a full rebuild, but a carefully scheduled transformation of an existing megastructure. The reason AT&T Stadium was chosen was clear. The Dallas-Arlington area offered a massive sports market, strong airport access, hotel capacity, and a stadium capable of hosting some of the tournament's largest crowds. For FIFA and US organizers, it represented the American model of scale, a controlled indoor environment, huge seating potential, premium facilities, and global broadcast readiness. MetLife Stadium's role in the 2026 FIFA World Cup is centered on conversion rather than original construction. The stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, opened in 2010 as the shared home of the New York Giants and New York Jets, and it was designed primarily for NFL football, concerts, and large American events. Its selection as the venue for the 2026 World Cup final turned it into one of the most important temporary transformation projects in the United States tournament plan. The stadium was not built specifically for the World Cup, but its scale, location, and infrastructure made it suitable for the tournament's biggest match. The New York-New Jersey region offered international airport access, hotel capacity, security resources, public transit links, and global media visibility. Those factors were central to why FIFA chose the venue for the final, even though the building required major adaptation to meet football-specific requirements. The most important conversion involved the pitch. MetLife Stadium normally uses artificial turf, which is standard for many NFL operations, but not acceptable for World Cup match conditions. For the tournament, the stadium had to be prepared for a temporary natural grass field. This required engineering work beneath the visible surface because the grass system needed stability, drainage, irrigation support, and consistent performance across multiple matches. The field had to be suitable for elite football. not simply laid over an existing American football surface. The second major issue was size. A FIFA World Cup pitch requires more usable width and surrounding operational space than an NFL field. MetLife's lower bowl seating and field level configuration were designed around American football dimensions, so parts of the lower seating area needed modification to create the required playing area and safety margins. These changes reduced some seating capacity, but they were necessary to make the stadium compliant for World Cup use. The final venue conversion also required changes beyond the field itself. The stadium had to support 2 national teams, referee crews, FIFA leadership, broadcast compounds, international media, security screening, hospitality areas, medical facilities, and ceremonial operations connected to the final. These demands are larger than a regular club or NFL event because the World Cup final functions as a global broadcast production, a security operation, and a sporting event at the same time. The timeline mattered because MetLife remained active before the tournament. The stadium continued hosting NFL games, concerts, and other events while planning for the World Cup conversion moved forward. Organizers had to schedule construction, testing, field installation, and operational rehearsals around an existing event calendar. The goal was not to rebuild the stadium permanently, but to create a temporary World Cup environment in time for the summer of 2026. SoFi Stadium entered the 2026 World Cup plan as one of the newest major stadiums in the United States, but also as one of the most complicated venues to adapt for FIFA football. Located in Inglewood, California, the stadium opened in 2020 as part of a larger sports and entertainment district, primarily serving the Los Angeles Rams and Los Angeles Chargers. It was not originally built for the World Cup, but its location, modern infrastructure, premium facilities, and global event capacity made it a major candidate for tournament use. The main issue was the pitch. SoFi Stadium was designed around the dimensions of American football, where the field is narrower than a FIFA World Cup pitch and requires different runoff areas. FIFA's requirements demanded a larger playing surface surrounding safety zones and operational space for teams, officials, photographers, broadcasters, and match staff. To make that possible, the stadium needed physical changes at field level rather than a simple surface replacement. The pitch expansion project focused on widening and lengthening the usable field area. This required modifications to the lower seating bowl, where some rows and field level structures had to be removed or reconfigured. The work was necessary because the stadium's original geometry created a tight envelope around the NFL field. For World Cup matches, the venue had to provide enough space for a regulation football pitch without compromising player safety or broadcast visibility. Another major part of the conversion involved the playing surface itself. SoFi normally operates with artificial turf for NFL use, but World Cup matches require natural grass. The project therefore had to plan for a temporary grass system that could perform inside a covered stadium environment. That meant addressing light exposure, ventilation, drainage, irrigation, field stability, and installation timing. The surface needed to behave like a permanent elite football pitch, even though it was being introduced into a venue not primarily designed around natural grass. The timeline was important because SoFi remained an active stadium leading into 2026. The venue continued to host NFL games, concerts, college football, and major entertainment events. The World Cup work had to be sequenced around that calendar, with construction and field conversion planned to avoid long interruptions to normal operations. The project was therefore not a single rebuild, but a controlled adaptation carried out in stages. Unlike several American World Cup venues that needed major structural intervention, Mercedes-Benz Stadium's 2026 conversion was less about forcing soccer into an NFL building and more about upgrading an existing soccer-capable stadium to FIFA tournament level. The Atlanta venue was already home to Atlanta United, so the basic relationship between the building, the crowd, and a rectangular soccer field was familiar. The World Cup work focused on meeting a higher international standard than regular MLS operations. The stadium opened in 2017 as a replacement for the Georgia Dome and was built as a multi-purpose venue for the Atlanta Falcons, Atlanta United, concerts, college football, and major events. It was not constructed specifically for the 2026 World Cup, but its design made it one of the strongest American candidates when the United States, Canada, and Mexico prepared their joint bid. Its retractable roof, central location, large capacity, and existing soccer use meant Atlanta could offer FIFA a stadium that needed conversion rather than reinvention. The most important World Cup adjustment was the playing surface. Mercedes-Benz Stadium normally uses artificial turf, including for Atlanta United matches, but FIFA World Cup matches require natural grass. That requirement changed the technical demands of the building. A temporary natural grass system had to be planned for a covered stadium environment where sunlight, airflow, moisture control, and field stability are not the same as in an open-air soccer stadium. The surface had to be installed, tested, protected, and maintained so it could support elite international play during the tournament window. Because the stadium was already configured for soccer, the field dimension challenge was less severe than at some other NFL venues. The lower bowl did not need the same level of dramatic reworking seen in stadiums built only around American football. Instead, the focus was on compliance details, FIFA pitch dimensions, runoff space, team technical areas, camera positions, advertising boards, media access, and controlled routes for players and officials. The conversion also extended into the operational side of the building. A World Cup match requires separate spaces for national teams, referees, anti-doping operations, FIFA officials, international broadcasters, hospitality partners, security teams, and thousands of accredited media workers. These functions had to be layered into a venue that already hosts major events, but under a tournament system with stricter movement control and global broadcast requirements. Philadelphia's World Cup preparation at Lincoln Financial Field was defined by a specific physical problem. The stadium had to be reshaped at field level so international football could fit inside a venue built around the tighter geometry of the NFL. The stadium opened in 2003 as the home of the Philadelphia Eagles, so it was not constructed for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Its World Cup role came later, when the United States' existing stadium network became the foundation of the tournament plan. The lower bowl reconstruction was the key conversion measure. An NFL field is narrower than a FIFA World Cup pitch, and World Cup football also requires additional space around the playing surface. For safety, officials, camera crews, team benches, photographers, medical access, and advertising systems. Lincoln Financial Field could not meet those requirements by simply repainting lines or changing turf. The stadium's closest seating sections had to be altered to create a wider, usable floor. This work affected the relationship between the stands and the pitch. Lower rows near the field were either removed, modified, or reconfigured so the venue could create the correct playing envelope. The project reduced some event day seating in the closest areas, but it allowed the stadium to satisfy FIFA's technical standards. For a World Cup match, the usable field zone matters as much as the number of seats, because every match must operate under the same rules for player safety, broadcast visibility, and competition fairness. The playing surface was another major part of the preparation. Lincoln Financial Field has experience with soccer matches, but the World Cup required a natural grass system at a higher standard and under heavier scrutiny. The field needed to be prepared for tournament-level speed, drainage, firmness, and consistency. Temporary grass installation planning had to account for the existing stadium floor, the summer schedule, and the need to protect the surface during the competition window. The timeline was shaped by the stadium's regular use. Lincoln Financial Field remained an active NFL venue, concert site, and large event facility before 2026, so the reconstruction had to be planned around existing obligations. The work could not function like a new stadium build with an empty site and a single deadline. It had to be staged inside a working venue with demolition, seating changes, surface preparation, and event operations coordinated toward the World Cup calendar. Philadelphia was selected because the city offered more than a stadium. It had a historic American setting, dense regional population, hotel capacity, transport links, and a sports complex already designed to handle large crowds. The World Cup gave Lincoln Financial Field a reason to undergo a football-specific transformation that would not have been necessary for ordinary NFL use. Gillette Stadium's World Cup work was shaped by one requirement that could not be avoided. The 2026 tournament had to be played on natural grass. That requirement turned the Foxborough venue from a regular NFL and MLS stadium into an excavation project, because its existing artificial turf system was not enough for FIFA's final tournament standards. The stadium opened in 2002 as the home of the New England Patriots and was later used by the New England Revolution. So it was not built for the 2026 World Cup. Its selection came from its existing capacity, regional sports infrastructure, event experience, and location within the Boston market. For tournament branding, the venue is connected to Boston, but the physical stadium is in Foxborough, where large event traffic, parking, crowd control, and stadium operations were already established through years of major football and soccer events. The conversion focused first on removing the artificial playing surface and preparing the layers underneath. A World Cup grass field cannot sit like a temporary carpet on top of a hard stadium base. It requires a supporting system that can keep the surface level, firm, drained, and consistent under match conditions. That meant the existing field profile had to be studied, opened, and adapted so a natural system could perform inside a venue long operated around synthetic turf. The excavation element matters because natural grass depends on depth. Beneath the visible blades are soil or root zone layers, drainage pathways, irrigation connections, and a stable base that prevents the pitch from shifting during play. For FIFA matches, the ball has to roll predictably. Players need secure footing, and the field cannot break down under repeated use. The work at Gillette therefore had to address what was beneath the pitch, not only what spectators would see on match day. Timing was one of the main constraints. Gillette Stadium remained a working venue before the World Cup, with NFL games, MLS matches, concerts, and other events continuing around the preparation schedule. The conversion had to be planned so the deeper field work, grass installation, testing, and maintenance could be completed in the correct window before the summer of 2026. The project was temporary for tournament purposes, but it required permanent level precision during installation. The stadium's existing soccer history helped, but it did not remove the need for upgrades. Hosting regular soccer matches is different from hosting the World Cup. FIFA's requirements involve pitch quality, team facilities, broadcast zones, security areas, media spaces, hospitality routes, and controlled circulation throughout the building. The grass conversion was the most visible change, but it was part of a wider operational shift from domestic venue use to international tournament use. Kansas City's World Cup project was different from the newer stadium conversions because Arrowhead Stadium entered the 2026 plan as one of the oldest American venues in the tournament. Opened in 1972 and known officially as GHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium, it was built for the Kansas City Chiefs and for American football sightlines, crowd movement, and NFL field geometry. It was not constructed for the World Cup, but its renovation and conversion became necessary once Kansas City was selected as one of the United States host cities. The central task was adapting a historic NFL stadium to FIFA's field requirements. A World Cup pitch needs greater width than an NFL field, plus surrounding space for safety zones, team benches, photographers, television cameras, advertising systems, and match officials. Arrowhead's lower bowl sits close to the field, which is part of its famous atmosphere. But that tight configuration created a challenge for international football. To prepare for 2026, the stadium required field-level modifications so the playing area could meet FIFA standards. The work was not only about the grass surface. Arrowhead has hosted soccer before, but World Cup matches require a more exact field system and a larger operational footprint. Natural grass had to be installed and maintained at tournament quality, with attention to drainage, firmness, root stability, and surface consistency. The conversion had to create a pitch that could handle elite players, fast ball movement, repeated use, and global broadcast scrutiny. Lower bowl adjustments were also part of the renovation logic. Some seating closest to the field had to be modified, covered, or removed to create the necessary soccer footprint. This changed the way the stadium floor functioned during the tournament, even if the broader structure remained intact. The goal was not to erase Arrowhead's identity, but to make its field level compatible with FIFA competition requirements. The timeline was complicated by Arrowhead's continued use as an active NFL venue. Kansas City Chiefs games, concerts, and other stadium events had to continue while World Cup preparation moved forward. Renovation work therefore had to be scheduled around existing events and completed before the summer 2026 tournament window. This made the project a staged conversion rather than a single, uninterrupted rebuild. Kansas City was chosen because it offered a strong sports culture, regional fan base, existing stadium infrastructure, and civic commitment to the tournament. Arrowhead's large capacity and reputation for crowd intensity helped make the venue attractive, while the surrounding sports complex provided space for security operations, broadcast needs, transportation planning, and fan movement. Levi's Stadium approached the 2026 World Cup with a different problem than most American host venues. It did not need to prove that soccer could physically fit inside the building. It had already hosted international matches, major club games, and large global sports events. Its World Cup preparation was instead about reliability, replacing the field system so the surface could meet FIFA expectations under tournament pressure. The stadium opened in Santa Clara in 2014 for the San Francisco 49ers, and it was not built for the 2026 World Cup. Its selection came because the Bay Area offered a major international market, airport access, hotel capacity, technology sector sponsorship strength, and an existing stadium capable of handling large crowds. The World Cup gave the venue a specific deadline to correct and refine the one element that had caused concern in the past: the playing surface. Levi's already uses natural grass, so the work was not a turf to grass conversion like other US stadiums. The issue was performance quality. A World Cup field must behave evenly from one touchline to the other. It must drain properly, resist tearing, maintain stable footing, and produce consistent ball speed. That requires more than laying fresh sod before the first match. It requires a full replacement plan involving the grass profile, root zone, irrigation, drainage, maintenance procedures, and testing schedule. The project was important because Levi's Stadium had previously faced criticism over grass conditions during some major events. For normal stadium operations, a field issue can be repaired between games. For the World Cup, surface inconsistency becomes an international problem because teams train and compete under strict FIFA inspection. The 2026 replacement therefore had to be prepared as a tournament pitch, not simply as the 49ers' regular field with soccer markings. The field replacement also had to account for the stadium's open-air environment in Santa Clara. Summer heat, sun exposure, water management, and repeated event use all affect grass performance. The surface needed to be strong enough for multiple World Cup matches, while remaining playable at the highest technical level. Crews had to manage growth, moisture, firmness, and recovery time so the pitch could remain consistent throughout the tournament period. Seattle's World Cup preparation was not defined by new concrete, expanded seating, or a rebuilt exterior. It was defined by a decision to temporarily change the basic operating model of Lumen Field. For most of its life, the stadium has depended on artificial turf because it serves multiple tenants, multiple sports, and a heavy event calendar. For the 2026 FIFA World Cup, that model had to be interrupted. Lumen Field opened in 2002 as a stadium built for American football, with the Seattle Seahawks as its main tenant. Its later role as the home of the Seattle Sounders made it one of the most important soccer venues in the United States, but that did not mean it was automatically ready for FIFA's tournament. The Sounders play regularly on artificial turf, while the World Cup requires natural grass. That single difference forced Seattle's main venue project into motion. The conversion was planned around a temporary natural grass pitch designed specifically for the tournament period. The work required more than placing grass on top of the existing surface. The stadium needed a field system that could support the weight, movement, and traction demands of World Cup matches while sitting inside a building normally managed for synthetic turf. The surface had to be level, stable, properly drained, and consistent enough for teams that would be preparing and competing under FIFA inspection. The challenge was partly technical and partly logistical. Lumen Field sits in a dense urban location near downtown Seattle, which gives it strong transport access and places it close to hotels, media facilities, and fan activity. That same urban setting limits how much staging space is available around the stadium. Materials, equipment, turf modules, maintenance systems, and field crews had to be coordinated within a compact site rather than an open suburban complex. The schedule was another constraint. The field could not be converted years in advance because Lumen Field still had to function for the Seahawks, Sounders, concerts, and other major events. It also could not be installed at the last moment without giving the grass enough time to settle and be tested. The World Cup forced a narrow construction window where the artificial surface had to give way to a temporary pitch with enough time for inspection, adjustment, and match preparation before tournament use. Houston's NRG Stadium entered the 2026 FIFA World Cup plan as a venue with one useful advantage and one major requirement. It had already hosted international soccer, Gold Cup matches, Copa America games, and large stadium events, so the building was familiar with football operations. But for the World Cup, previous experience was not enough. The stadium had to be prepared to FIFA's final tournament standard, with the pitch and venue systems adjusted for a global event rather than a one-off match. NRG Stadium opened in 2002 as the home of the Houston Texans. It was not built specifically for the 2026 World Cup as a large, retractable roof stadium capable of hosting multiple sports and major events. That flexibility made it useful for the tournament. Houston offered a major international airport network, a large hotel base, a diverse football audience, and a climate-controlled stadium environment in a city known for heat and humidity during the summer. The main World Cup preparation centered on the playing surface. NRG Stadium has used artificial turf for much of its modern operation, while the World Cup requires natural grass. The pitch plan, therefore, had to create a temporary grass field that could perform inside a retractable roof building where light, air movement, temperature, and moisture are controlled differently than in an open stadium. The grass system needed a stable base, proper drainage, irrigation support, and enough time to settle before match use. This was not just a cosmetic change. A World Cup pitch must provide consistent ball speed, even firmness, and secure footing across the full field. For Houston, the conversion had to account for the stadium floor underneath, the summer climate outside, and the enclosed environment inside. Maintenance crews needed to manage the grass carefully so it would remain playable through repeated training, warm-ups, ceremonies, and match activity. Venue preparation also involved the spaces around the field. FIFA matches require regulated team benches, technical areas, media positions, photographer zones, medical access routes, broadcast camera platforms, advertising board placement, and security-controlled circulation. NRG Stadium already had major event infrastructure, but World Cup operations required a more detailed layout built around international football instead of NFL routines. The timeline was shaped by the stadium's regular schedule. NRG could not be treated as an empty construction site because it continued to host Texans games, concerts, rodeo-related events, and other large gatherings before 2026. The World Cup work had to be sequenced, so field installation, venue testing, temporary infrastructure, and FIFA inspections could happen without permanently disrupting the building's normal use.